Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Nichole with Topaz, and today's Quick Tip Thursday session is all about refined toning with ReStyle's blending modes. Today we're going to be demonstrating how to achieve that more refined toning results in just a few steps using the multiple blending options that we have in Topaz ReStyle, including the blend modes, the transparency option, and masks as well for selective application. So if you're unfamiliar with ReStyle, it is a color theme program, and what it will do is apply tone in your image, different color tones in different tonal ranges in your image. It's going to take multiple colors and kind of just translate that into your image. So you can quickly take an image. This one is quite moody as is, with a lot of gray happening. But because it has a nice scale of white to black, you can really come in and play with that tone within ReStyle alone and get some beautiful results. So we'll take this image first just to take a look at some of the really obvious blending options, and then we'll go further with another image. It's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to go to Topaz Labs, Topaz ReStyle. I'm going to come down here to the bottom right and press Reset All, and that'll get us back to our original image. And let's say you already come in knowing what type of tone you want to apply. So maybe I'm looking to do, I really kind of got inspired by what I saw on the screen just now. So maybe I'm looking to get kind of a fiery sky, or something that has a lot of orange in it, a lot of warmth versus kind of the coolness in that other example I had in Photoshop. The way that I would look for something that has kind of a fiery quality is just by going into my grid option here, and that grid option is to the right of the word presets, and you can always go in there, and that's the way that I like to work with ReStyle, because we have over 1,000 different toning options. And I like to go up to the keywords, and if I have a specific type of look or a word in mind, I'll just type that into my keyword area. So let's just type in fire. And I know I have several fire presets. I have a forest fire. I know I have a lot of different fiery presets. So we'll just go with that. Oh, I kind of like this rustic red and orange. That's really pretty. We do have that forest fire, which looks really good there as well. And night on fire, I like that too. But I think what I'm going to go with here is the rustic red and orange. So I'm just going to click on that. Now you'll notice that most of the presets within Topaz ReStyle are very strong, or they affect your image a lot. Now, not all of them, but I'd say 75% of them are going to affect your image in quite a heavy manner. And don't let that frighten you off. Just go with something that maybe inspires you, like we did here, and then work with your blending options to refine it and make it specific to your image. The technology of this program, it's taking another images, or these presets were created with another image. We extracted the colors from other images, created a preset of them, and then it allows you to apply those colors to your image. And sometimes you just have to tweak it a bit and refine it a little bit more to get it to work perfectly for your image. Now, it's the way that I love to work with ReStyle, even when you don't have any of the sliders open over here on the right, you still have two main blending options, your opacity and your blend modes. The opacity is going to be a traditional transparency slider, so you can put in just a tiny bit of tone and just get a little bit of color added to your image here. Here's before and after. That's an opacity of 26, or you can get something quite strong, but not 100%. So you really have a very quick option of kind of taking some of that tone out very quickly with that opacity slider. My personal favorite area, though, are the blend modes, because they apply these color themes to your image in a much more in a really nice way, and sometimes preserving the contrast that you might be losing by adding tone on top of your image. And so you can come through here and just play around. You just have to scroll over them. You don't have to click them, and it will change to let you know what the blend modes will look like. So the multiply is going to make everything a bit darker, screen everything a bit lighter, but it's still taking into consideration that tone layer that's on top. The overlay and the soft light are probably the ones that are most used as far as maintaining that really rich contrast in your original image while still applying tone in a way that keeps it fairly natural, or it's not as affected. You have your hard light, your luminosity, which is just going to take the luma information and apply that versus the color. And then you have your color. So it's just going to add the color itself and not actually any sort of tonal adjustments as far as the contrast goes. So for this one, I might go with overlay, or actually let me push that to soft light. I liked that a little bit better. And I can now take my opacity levels down a little bit and still get a nice warmth coming into my image, maintaining my contrast. Here's before and after. And that is the two main blending options that you have within ReStyle, that opacity and blend modes. Let me go ahead and cancel out and bring in one other image here real quick, kind of show you how I would use it to really work with something that requires more refined toning. So newborn photography, you're probably going to see a lot of toning going on, not only because of the baby's skin and adding some creaminess to it, but also with your shadows and highlights. Usually you'll see a lot of creaminess or kind of peach tones added to highlights, and maybe some brown, darker brown, eggplant, purpley tones to the lowlights. You get all sorts of different toning choices, or if you look at examples of newborn photography, you'll see all different types of tone added to it. ReStyle is a great option for getting kind of inspired for what type of tone, or looking for certain types of tones to add into that image, and then you can refine it as well. So let's take this layer 2 copy. This is actually, we'll take the layer 2 below, because that is a stamp layer right here, just so you know. It's a stamp of all the other stuff below it, so we can start there. And let's just take that into ReStyle. And here's an example of where you start to see it's just so heavy-handed on most of these presets when it comes to certain types of images like this. This is a very soft image, has a lot of softer, I'll show you this original image here over on the top left. And it has, there's not a lot of really high contrast area, so you'll start to see a lot of extra contrast added through the tone themes itself. But let's say I wanted to get maybe a more, I like that eggshell preset I just saw, but I want to see if there's anything else that has some eggshell or cream in it. So let's just type in egg. It's going to pull up some eggplant ones too. Let's do, oh, I really do like that eggshell and ash gray preset. So let's go there. Now you can go into those keywords and type in something like cream or peach, and it'll pull up a lot of those types of tones that you might want to add into this type of imagery. But I really like this eggshell because it looks like it applies really nicely to the skin. And then the ash gray, I like how it is applying kind of a greener tone to my shadows. I think that's really pretty, but it's way heavy for this particular image. So I would come in and maybe work with my opacity just to see if that would work. So here's before and after. That's going in a really nice direction. That's pretty, but maybe it's going to be better if I add it as a soft light. Soft light option is going to maintain that lovely, or it's going to kind of take my lights a little bit lighter, take my darks a little bit darker, give me some nice contrast, as well as adding those tones in there. So here's before and after. But I actually like it in that normal mode, and I want to take my opacity down maybe to about 50%. So here's before and after. And now I can come into my color style options and refine it even further with the hue, saturation, and luminance. Now this is the regular adjustments that you have. It's not necessarily a blending adjustment, but really quickly I do want to take the luminance of the shadows in the baby's face up a little bit. And so I'm going to see if that's maybe my primary. It is. So I'm going to come in and just take the primary color and push it to the right. If you want to know more about this color style panel, go ahead and take a look at our introduction to ReStyle, and it'll really go into all of these different options. But today we're talking about blending modes. And now that I've kind of tweaked this a little bit, I just want to take maybe a little bit more out of my baby's skin, leave the background this really nice kind of grayish green color. And the way that I could do that is going into my masking. The mask is going to allow me to selectively apply it exactly wherever I want to, and whatever percentage or how heavy. So one of my favorite options within the masking panel is going to be the color range option, but it's not really going to be great for this particular photo because a lot of the original color It's very similar from the baby skin to the background, but let's just check it out anyways, because there are some sensitivity options in there that we might be able to work with. So whenever you click on the color range option, it will pop up the color range dialog here, and if you scroll into your image, you'll see this little green dot, and that's telling the program what color you want to mask out. So I'm just going to put that right on the baby's forehead here. Now I'm going to make the sensitivity slider go up so it's a little bit more sensitive to the actual color, and the size maybe go down. And you know, this option just isn't working for me, so I'm going to cancel out. And that happens sometimes. Instead, I'm going to use my brush module. In the brush, we have edge-aware brushes, normal brushes, or color-aware brushes, but because the color is very similar in all of this, I'm going to go with my normal brush, and I'll take my strength down to about 50%. My brush size I'll take up just a touch, or actually let's take that down. Hardness down, and now I have a brush where I can brush out the effect where I want it. So I just want to brush out a little bit more on the baby skin and bring back a little bit more of that tone while still getting the tone in the background to be a little bit more heavily applied. So this is a great option for blending in it exactly where you want it at the strength that you want it. And I'm going to take off a little bit more just in the baby's face and the eyes, lips, nose. And here's before and after. Here's before the selective adjustments, a little bit more heavy-handed here. After our masking it out just a touch more, I'm pretty happy here, and I'm going to say okay. And that is how I would go about using the blending options to get more refined and polished tone within Topaz ReStyle than just using the presets at 100% on your images right away. I think you can get a lot, or I've been able to achieve some really lovely refined results very quickly by using those blend options. Here's before and after. All right, I hope that was helpful. Again, we do have our other sessions at topazlabs.com, or I'm sorry, youtube.com/topazlabs. So that will, if you want to check out our workflow webinars there, check out Introduction to ReStyle to get a little bit more acquainted with the program, you can check it out there. If you have any questions, you can send them in to us at webinars@topazlabs.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope this gave you at least some good tips on the blending opportunities that you have within Topaz ReStyle program itself. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.